This week I'm going to build Duracell's navigation station.
My name is Matt. Follow along as I turn Duracell, the legendary ocean racing sailboat, into a comfortable cruising home. Last week I got the basic navigation station mocked up, and after some small adjustments, I'm ready to start building. I've run out of flat stock, so I began by vacuum bagging a 3/4 inch sheet of foam with a layer of 17-ounce glass on each side. This will become the nav station. I've done this enough times now that it goes pretty quickly. I used my mock-up from last week to trace out the bulkhead onto my flat stock and then cut it out using my track saw and jigsaw. Perfect. I love it when it fits the first try.
Good job.
Thanks. Putting the glue down using my Fixo Pro on the boat to glue in this bulkhead with. This bulkhead will carry monitors, control panels, and nav equipment. The door that will face inboard perpendicular to this bulkhead will have the switch panel. We got a lot of questions and suggestions last week about the switch panel, and I can confirm that the switch panel will be recessed into the door, and there will be a protective cover over the switch panel, probably plexiglass, so someone can't fall into the switches and make a mess. That's it.
Like a puzzle piece.
Glue it in. After gluing it in, I glassed it to the boat with 17-ounce tapes. We're not showing the whole project, but I glassed both sides of the bulkhead to the boat. Later today, the paint crew is going to start sweeping this doghouse with fairing. The reason that they're here doing all this work is because I've made huge modifications to the boat. In doing those modifications, I've added a bunch of lumps and bumps. How I built things is not perfectly smooth, doing a lot of taping. And so what their job is to make it look like I never did any of these modifications. They're smoothing everything out to make it look like that's how it was made to look originally. And so it's a big job, obviously, that they have to do to get all these parts looking natural to the boat. And the biggest modifications we've made to the boat are adding this doghouse and modifying the cockpit and the stern. And their job is to make it look like that's how it was the whole time. Again, we're in the Nav Station area. This is where the seat's gonna go. We're gonna talk about this bulkhead that's behind the seat that I'm gonna build. When I built the seat earlier and I test sat at the seat, my shoulder was kind of falling off because there's this bulkhead is at an angle. This is gonna be the seat back. And so what I wanna do is cut this foam section out, which used to be the old ballast tank vertical part. And so I'm gonna cut this off and build out this bulkhead to be more square. I would still like there to be a nice hand. This is a pretty sweet handle right here. I'd still like there to be a handle as you walk down the lane. Build it out, add a handle, and then we'll build the seat there as well. So that's the next project in this Nav Station area.
I used my templating method to extend the bulkhead out to create a seat back. And I used that template again to make an MDF mockup, just to make sure I liked how it looked. Once it was installed, I gave it a test run. It will have to be nice and sturdy as both a seat back and a handle. I have a few pieces left of the old ballast tanks, so I cut the bulkhead extension out of that leftover. For the handle, I just cut a slot out of the corner using a hole saw and track saw. The last thing to do before gluing it in was to soften all the inboard edges and handles so they're ready to be glassed. I'm using a 1/2 inch radius router bit and going over both corners so that the edge of the bulkhead will have a very nice rounded surface. Finally, after the extension was all glued in, I glassed it to the boat. And while I was at it, I glassed over the edge of the extension where I rounded the corners with a couple layers of 6-ounce cloth tapes. Those are to seal the foam edge and give the edge of the bulkhead a lot of impact resistance.
It's time to glue on this counter. I've got it all cut out and everything, and we're gonna glue it on this afternoon.
That's an embarrassing amount of glue.
It's not over yet.
There was a common comment from last week's Nav Station mock-up episode that basically said, "Matt, you're going to fall out of that seat when the boat is heeling." This is true. Having a flat seat would be tough to sit in when the boat is heeled over at 20 degrees and bashing into waves. Some folks suggested seat belts or folding arms or another extension off the bulkhead, but my favorite solution to this is to have a curved seat, so that as the boat heels, the sitter can scoot their butts to one side so that it is more level. And a side bonus is that the seat is a little bit lower in the middle, making a little more headroom.
The next step is to build the seat at the nav station, and so we're going to glue the box together today. And then tomorrow I'm going to go ahead and make the seat, the actual seat, which is curved, which will be a really fun project, but for now I'm just gluing this box together.
Hi, Pete.
There you go. Just in time.
I'm gonna go get that baby.
Yep.
You saw that the edges of the seat box were curved, so the seat itself is cut out using a piece of flat stock, and the grooves are cut every couple inches, the frequency of which depends on how small the radius I'm trying to make. The grooves go through the bottom layer of glass and through the foam, but not the top layer of glass. I filmed while Cormac partially filled the grooves with Thixo Pro epoxy. Then, we set the seat into the box which has the curved shape cut into it, and weighed the panel down, making a curved seat. Later, we'll come back and add a layer of glass to the top.
So on Friday we filled the house and let it sit and cure over the weekend, and this morning we're vacuum sanding all the flat areas, and now we're hand sanding the corners and the top where the sander won't fit in this bottom edge.
You'll notice that there's not like a drawer, or on a lot of Nav stations the counter lifts up and there's an inside that people store like charts and stuff. I'm not going to do that. I don't have space for it. And so what I need to do is make this counter a little bit stiffer. All it is just a overhang of this 3/4 inch foam. And so I'm going to install this little gusset to make this counter a lot stiffer. Alder's not happy. This nav station has taken shape. It's not totally done yet. I really like how it's shaped so far. We got comments last week about the overhead. I'm sure we'll get more comments about it this week, but I feel like it's very comfortable. I think, yes, when we are on a port tack, I'll be leaning up and my head might be hitting the ceiling a little bit, but you know, those instances are a lot more rare than when we're just sitting at anchor or when we're sailing in other conditions. And so I am very, very happy with it. We have a few things to add, like a footrest. Some people suggested a place to store charts, which I would love to carry paper charts, and I think keeping them underneath, having a nice slot underneath the desk will be ideal for a place for some paper charts. I am going to build the bread box style cabinets that go along under the window, which I'm very excited about, and it'll be a great place to store books on top of. We'll make a little kind of book rack right here on the forward side of it. And lastly, I made just a little cap for my water tank access, so it cleans it up really nicely. And yeah, so far so good. Like I said, it's not done yet, but it looks good so far. And this seat lid comes off, so it's a good storage space. Hello, Inspector.
After a thorough CAT scan by the bureaucrat, the navigation station passed inspection. We have a few new Patreons to thank this week. First, thank you to Stan.
stands in North Carolina, and he just finished restoring this. It's a Shannon 38 from 1980, and they did a 2-year refit on it, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. Stan hopes to start cruising. It's been on his bucket list, at least cross the Atlantic and hopefully go further than that. Also thank you to Jay. Jay is out on the East Coast on a Cape Cod. He is currently restoring a 1965 Bertram 25. It's a center console, and he's been all over the East Coast and the Caribbean sailing around. He's been using a lot of the same materials that we have, and so thank you to Jay. And lastly, thank you to Joshua, who is in Germany, and Joshua has a Hansi 43, I believe. He is cruising extensively. He's sailed to the Caribbean and back already, and up to Svalbard from Germany, and he said he's got the Arctic fever and is planning on doing another trip out to Greenland and Iceland and eventually sail around the world. And so thank you very much to Joshua as well. And thank you, of course, to everybody that's been helping support this project. It is so much fun to interact with everybody who's been helping, and I don't know, just everybody that's been enjoying the project as much as we have. So thank you again so much.